Hello, I am excited to talk about Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. I made a video that was a really long one talking about all the different aspects of how they made the environments and things. But that video was mostly like all of the research going behind it and trying to figure out what they were doing. Now I'm going to make this smaller video just to kind of summarize kind of the things that they are doing now that I've gone and figured things out. I love figuring stuff like this out. I love playing through a game and seeing how they did things. I think it's so fascinating, and a game like this, you know, it's a gorgeous game, and when you look at old games and see a lot of the tricks and stuff they use to build large environments, that still carries over today with modern games, modern graphics. It's all the same techniques and things. It's just very apparent with these old ones. I just think it's so cool to look and find all this stuff. So I'm going to just kind of summarize with, you know, what is it? What are all these different pieces that this game uses? So let's go in. Okay, so some of the very first things we have is in Outset Island. Let's look around and see the kinds of techniques that they're using in this one. So in my research video, we looked at like all the cliff edges. So let's summarize what all that is about right here. So you can see for these environments, they have this tiling rock pattern going all the way across, and they use this a lot. So there's a couple variations of this. There's this smaller variation with like the grass right here, and then they have the larger variation where it just goes on forever and ever. Excuse me. They also have this variation with the grass at the top but no grass on the bottom. And it's interesting that they're using that many variations, but they just have these textures that they just sweep across, they tile horizontally, so that they can just keep on, you know, they can use that however long they need. But this top strip, yeah, it's like they're putting this on the lip of things, and then that's where they cut the UVs off so that they can just stick grass there. So I'll give a practical example in Blender. Okay, so here we are in Blender, and this is sort of my recreation from the other video, trying to figure out what they were doing. So yeah, all I did is I went and made some simple cliff side texture thing. I just took snapshots of the game and made my own rock texture here with the grass at the top. So yeah, all my object is, I just made this you know, this cliff shape, and then I inset everything. So just to demonstrate, just take a cube here. I guess I'll just do this. And all I did was I just selected the top face and pressed I, like that. That makes the inset. And then we just laid out the UVs straight. So all these on the side, if we just take a look at all these, they just go, you know, horizontally, and I make sure that they're all straight and lined up. There's a few methods to get that in, to get those all lined up. But once I did those, I pinned those, then I extended the selection right here, where we have this very top of the texture that keeps going, it tiles, and that just, yeah, that transitions into the grass. And that's exactly what we have here. So it just goes up, and we have this lip here, and then right at the edge of that grass is where we would transition to another texture. And games are using this method all the time. Yeah, and then the path, which I thought was really cool. So if we look at the path, there isn't that much that it's actually using. So we can spot the tiled bits. Let's go over here where there's no shadows. You can see this, like, this chunk right here, we see it here again and again and again and again. So they're only using this tiny path segment for all this coverage. And yeah, so they're putting this right next to the rock texture, the lip there, and then just transitioning it straight into the path, which, yeah, that works. Also, something they're doing here with like the larger grassy areas, I thought they would have like just a tiling grass that they would kind of blend in, but it looks like in the files that they have, which I'll pull so that we can see all this stuff, is they have like this grass patch texture, and it's like they're UVing that patch everywhere. So you see this like lighter bit in the grass, and they're using that lighter bit right here, just over and over again. Here, and they don't really care about the texture stretching at all in this. It works. And that's sort of what they're doing here. They have a texture which is just this, I don't know is this, I guess it's rock. But they have just this little patch, just a square patch, and they're just stretching those UVs to fit that. And we'll look at that some more as well. But yeah, let's head back to Blender. So with the path here, I made, I took a screenshot of the path and just stretched it up, so I was making my own textures. And yeah, if I just, this is the path that I wanted, with these as well. So I straighten those up and, you know, let them all follow this path. And then for this end piece, they do this a lot in this game. You just take this, you cut it up so that you can just grab this little bit and cap it off by just finding somewhere, you know, somewhere that doesn't look too bad. And yeah, that works. When you zoom out, really, you can't tell much of a difference. These are the like grass patches that I tried to copy, but my texture editing was not working out very well, so oh well. But yeah, same thing. They're sticking those everywhere. With a little bit of work, I could definitely blend these. They probably had like a specific value that they were like, okay, this is the value, the transition point, and then anything past that you can make whatever color you want. But I did not line that up, so that would have been better somewhere else. Anyway, some other things they have as well. On all the buildings and things, all this is they're just using, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 like different wood plank sections on this big long texture trim sheet, and they're just matching up those wood plank UVs to these planes. And pretty simple. And here we've got just a section that is, you know, the 3 pieces of wood, and they're using this here, the same thing there, the same thing there, the same thing there. We obviously have this little section of wood as well that they're planting everywhere. But yeah, the whole thing is just made up of these just little sections of textures that they're just placing everywhere. It's really amazing. And also, like, the amount of textures that they're using on this whole island is about, I think they have 7 materials, so that's 7 different textures, which is incredible. That's awesome. You can get away with a lot with using hardly any resources. So there's one texture, here's another. They have a big texture which is just like all the ground stuff. They have a couple of variations for the rocks. They have one just for the roofs of the houses and one for the wood. And that's like the whole island, so yeah, it's cool. Okay, let's explore the model files to this. We can see all the textures that they added here. It's amazing. So I've separated all the different objects to the to everything that shares the same texture. So if we just select one thing, everything that shares that texture will be selected too. So for this one, we'll go into the UV editing so we can see what's going on. Oopsies. Let's change this. It's a huge scale, so I'm just going to go along with that. Okay. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. So all this is the rock, but this is the one of the rock textures. So this is the one with the grassy like ledge, the lip, and yeah, this whole you call this a trim sheet. We still use this nowadays. I don't think you can make an optimized environment without trim sheets and things. That's just tiling details that run across horizontally that you can just repeat on forever and ever. And it's just a collection of those that you fill the whole environment with. So we have this larger section, which is right here that we can see. And this will just go on forever and ever and ever. Let's pull that back and just keep going. Oh, it looks like that's a different UV section. Let's grab these. So we can see what the UVs are doing right here. And they're just overlapping right there. We have this grassy bit, and maybe we'll look at that in a little bit. These rocks are cool because they're just like taking the tops of the rocks and putting this like smoother, or yeah, just the top details on. And then the sides, they just have this. So even these don't have like a unique texture to them. They're sharing this, and they can stick this detail anywhere they want. And all these methods, I'll probably say this time and time again, these are used today. Like, these are the same methods that are used on, you know, some of the best graphical games on like the PS4, PS5. So anyway, we have those. Let's look at the grass now. So here is that little bit. It's like this tiny patch that they're just putting everywhere. So here, and they're stretching their UVs however they can, just to fit it in there. And the edges, you know, appeared, you know, at a good, like it's the same value and hue as all the other bits here. Oh look, they have this tiling twice in the texture. That's interesting. But anyway, so they would just map all these, get them to fit. I find it really cool at these like cross sections. They get really creative with how they match up. This one doesn't look amazing, but it's not terrible. You see this all over the game, and they just get them to match up right at the end. And I guess that's how, because it looks like here they're ending it right here. This is like the end or the beginning of the texture, so that they can start this one. Probably, let's see, will it just match up? Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong here. But I guess if you wanted it to be seamless. Oh, which one is it? It's this one. Yeah, it is. So it's going on. It's following the same. They just don't line up right here. So if they wanted to, though, they could line these up. And there you go. That's a perfect transition there. Cool. We have the whole sand as well. They just have this tiny sand section, which is yeah, it's cool that they're doing that. I think nowadays you'd be using like vertex colors and things like that to blend different materials together. Although this works fine-ish. You get these seams here and there if there's not like perfect transitions. So doing like vertex color blending, that's definitely, you know, the more common method used now. But yeah, this works, and I think especially for like indie developers and stuff, they're trying to make a 3D environment and stuff fast. Like, look at the amount of textures that they're using. Like, if you know what the general idea needs to look like, and you make just some textures for those things. You got the cliff, you got grass, you got paths, sand, rocks. You just start placing UVs all over those maps and see how far you can get with that. And if something needs to be tweaked, you can tweak it, but like this is such a good method to make large worlds with, you know, little resources. If you wanted to embellish this, you could add, you know, like you could add like vines here and things and just more plants and stuff, and it's all kinds of things you can do to, you know, bring a bit more life to this. This is obviously very plain, but they have grass and stuff in here and the plants and whatnot that they have that aren't showing up in here. But yeah, that's fine. So moving on to the wood trim sheet that they have. This, it looks like it flips here. And I wonder if it's, if they made the texture that way to flip. Like if that was... Because it flips like 4 times. There's this thing here, this thing. And I wonder if on the export or the rip, this was generated like that. To me, it doesn't make sense that they would duplicate the same details 4 times. But you can't have... Sometimes inverted UVs can mess things up. So I wonder if just something on the rip made this that way. I don't know. But I don't think there's any reason to duplicate this 4 times. But anyway, I think, yeah, you see everything is up in the top corner. Everything that's selected in this material. So, yeah, let's look here. So, these... They just have these wood planks that cover this whole space. So let's grab these. So yep, this section just covers this bit, and then I guess they do it again. Yep. And yeah, that works. And I bet they're doing the same thing right here. Yep, they are. Then this, oh, they are cutting it off too. Yeah, cool. Oh, look at that, and even for the caps. Very interesting. Yeah, you can get really creative. Let's look on the house again though, real fast. Let's see if there's any cool details here. This bit, I'm just gonna take this triangle off. So yeah, the same detail just repeated. This isn't one big thing, remember, it's flipped horizontally and then vertically. So yeah, I bet if I take these two, move them over like that. Sure, I'll just do that. And if I turn this on, so we see everything. If I select that one, that's up here, and I bet that this one is the opposite. Or I guess they just flipped it. Because look, you got the vignette here and the vignette there, so they probably just... That's -1. Yep, looks like they just flipped it. If you have... You can flip things, but if you have a normal map or something, that can mess up with your normals if you're flipping UVs just like this. But this is just diffuse, so... And there are ways still to get that to show up bright with a normal map too. You just have to be careful about doing those things. So anyway, I don't think there's much else to really show on this. It's so straightforward. This is another texture trim sheet that they have. So all those are taking up that bit. And I think it's the dark of these bridge things, yeah. So they wrap around here. Oh, interesting. So that's the top as well as, so that's the same as that, but oh, so this is like the seamless, that's where they overlap, but here they're just putting the same thing again and that works. And then underneath, yeah, just copying the same detail. Really cool. You can learn a lot from reverse engineering stuff like this. Cool. There we have the post. I just think it's so cool. And then, okay, we have the roof finally. So all the roofs are using the same one. So yeah, you'll get a lot of like just tiling materials for roofs nowadays with just like, you know, the roof tiles. But if you wanted to make it more interesting, you could. So here it's very flat, but let's say we wanted to add a bit of variation. You don't have to make a whole like unique texture for this and a unique bake. You can cut along the edge here. Hopefully this works well. Sometimes the knife tool like doesn't have an easy time with this. So you just follow the line. Oh, should we go on? Nah, we'll just do that much. Oh, let's see. It's probably triangulation. I'll pause and try again. Okay, well that turned out crap, but whatever, I'll just take this bit. So this is where you could, let's see. So if I just select this whole edge and I can rip the faces, I'm just gonna hit V and pull those out. So let's exaggerate it a bit. This face is gonna have to be rebuilt. Okay, I just fixed that. I just used the knife tool. And yeah, here we can just select all these and these and bridge them. And from a distance, yeah, that's gonna look real nice. Real nice and chunky. Let's get these as well. Cool, there we go. So you could do that and you could really start to bring out like a good silhouette with that. And yeah, like games are using this same method nowadays. What else can you do to preserve, you know, to be optimized, preserve texture, memory? You got to reuse stuff over and over, and you know, for details that people aren't looking up close at, you don't need a unique texture for all these things. You can do stuff like this and it'll look great. So it looks as great as this stuff, right? So yeah, choose your battles, I guess. What do you want to go for? But yeah, so they're just using that same texture on all these, so cool. Something else I thought that was cool is they are using this for these boats as well. They're using the same wood texture here. Look at that. This whole thing is just this tiny bit. There are tools, there's probably more like in-engine tools for stuff like this, because they would write their own, I don't know, I would assume that they would have engine tools to help them with a lot of this UV work, or whatever 3D modeler they were using. Plugins and stuff for that. But yeah, just using this all over, that's so creative. And then right here, just ending it there instead of right before. It's so cool. I love it so much. I think they even use this detail on, what's this? Oh, okay, slightly different. Yeah, I think that's amazing. I guess we should talk about the water a bit too. Just have strips of quads and things that are UV'd, and then in the material, in the engine, obviously that's why they'll animate that texture running across. So this, you see in the game a lot, will just run back and forth. So there's one that just runs this way and another that runs that way. They'll have like noise textures to kind of distort it a bit. Yeah, those are pretty simple. So those will just run all the way across. You can do things like, what is it called? Distance, something. Like where you can calculate the distance from the camera to an object in like Unreal Engine. That can do a lot of this for you, but like this UV thing is super common too. Like, especially for stylized stuff where it's like a very set look that you're going for. For realistic stuff, I don't know if you would really use this. Yeah, I don't know. You could, but yeah. Yeah, I think all this stuff is super fascinating. And it's just so cool to see it all. It's so simple when you break it down. Anyway, okay, let's maybe move on. Or maybe I'll just leave it there for now. because I'm at about 25 minutes. So yeah, I just think it's so cool to reverse engineer this stuff, and especially where you can, you know, we have the resources to be able to look at the files of these things. I just think it's so cool to go back and learn from this stuff. You can apply this stuff to your things today, and especially with a lot of these older games where the team sizes were smaller, things were a bit simpler just because it couldn't handle as much, so they were restricted. These methods are still useful. So obviously things can be improved a bit. Like one thing that just came to my mind right now is this transition between the rock and the path. I was taught by my leader Epic with my first job, you want to make sure everything, you marry everything, every contact point, make sure there's some like what is tying it to the thing it's touching with. In this case, you would use, you know, they do this in Windfall Island and other places in the game, but they just have this decal or this strip of like grass that they'll just put around the edges when it ties up perfectly with this. I don't know why they're not doing it here. But stuff like that can help to, you know, sell this a bit more, not make it look as flat. There's a lot about this game which looks very flat, very simple. But yeah, I mean, especially for indie stuff now, you see a lot of 2D stuff, and I don't think these methods, they're not as well known, they're not out there. And for an environment artist, having to do this as my job, it's been really cool to have to learn this stuff and go, oh man, everything's so simple now. And if people understood how simple it was, and you don't have to eat up all the texture memory when you make stuff like this, by using, like, this literally uses, let's see, materials. So we have water materials, which I guess is 7 of them. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So here's 8 materials for the island, and then for the water it's another 8, I guess. It's all numbered weird. So yeah, that's amazing. That's, yeah, 16 materials, not counting the characters and NPCs and stuff. That's so cool. Yeah. Anyway, I could probably ramble on some more, but I don't really need to. Look at that screen space, ambient occlusion. I think that's what it is. Cutting off at the edge of the post. Anyway, I'm like super analytical with games nowadays. Just that's what I'm doing every day. I hope this was helpful. This is super fascinating for me to discover and learn about, and I hope it is for you guys too. And if you have questions, or if you want to see, like, you know, different, if you want to look at other games and stuff, yeah, let me know, and we can break down some of the methods that they're probably using in other games to help you make your own worlds and things. So yeah, leave a comment if you want, and feel free to subscribe if you like this kind of stuff. I'm not trying to take my YouTube channel out to, I'm not trying to be a successful YouTuber or anything, but I do like to put out videos every now and then and share what I know, and I like to educate people. So, all right, see ya.